everyone, thanks so much for joining me. In this video, we're going to do Camel pose or Ustrasana. It's a fabulous back bend, really similar in its look and its work as Setu Bandhasana or bridge pose, except that we're on our knees and shins rather than on our back. So being that we're going to be on our knees, shins, if you have any sensitivity, feel free to put a little extra cushion underneath. I'm doing this on carpet, so I don't really need any extra cushion, but you could even double up your mat, if you need. Some people find it helpful to have a couple of blocks, but we'll go ahead and get started. So I'll head on back here. Getting into this kneeling position, you could have your feet with the toes tucked under or the tops of the feet down on the mat. You want to line this up so that your knees are directly below your hips, so you still have the center lines. You could even do this as with a lot of standing poses to really organize the legs and get the work of the legs. You could put a block in between the thighs just to remind the legs to engage effectively. As with back bends, there's a tendency, we could easily pinch the spine. We could also easily unground the thigh bones. So we want to really stay focused on still keeping all of the channels open. So try to imagine that you're up at a wall, and we want to pull those thigh bones, the head of the thigh bones, slightly away from the wall, And as we press into the shins, into the knees, and we bring energy up, we'll be able to create space in the hip joints, which will then translate to space coming on up the spine. You could have your hands, at your hip, the rim of the pelvis. During the pose, you might just adjust, the positioning as you feel more expansive. So I'm going to be far more focused on length and space than depth. I happen to be really flexible in my spine. I think I always have had that flexibility. I also have a lot of flexibility in the quadriceps, and it all goes together. So if your quadriceps are tight, then that might limit your back bend, and that's okay. You want to focus more on the breathing, more on the space and the length. So I'll start out with my toes tucked under, hands behind, really drawing the thigh bones deep in the hip joints, arm bones deep in the shoulder joints, bringing energy up, in toward the midline, growing taller. I start by looking down and breathing, really focusing on inflating the spine, inflating the back. And then I start to look directly forward or turn my gaze more upward, maybe all the way back, But I'm really lifting constantly, So for every degree that I go back, I precede it with going up, All right, so I'm going to start to just travel, Hands travel down, maybe easily finding feet, the heels, but still all the while breathing and lifting up. Sometimes I'll do this transition mid-pose of flattening out the feet. Either way, I want to draw energy up, in toward the midline, lengthening. And then as I exit, I'm going to return support to the back, coming up, still bringing energy in, up and in toward the midline, sitting back on the heels, maybe getting a satisfying knee pop. You could always place, in between. If you're doing this multiple times, you could easily sit on a block, between your seat and heels if it's not, accessible to easily sit back. But you want to just pause and breathe, maybe take a gentle forward fold. But usually if I'm in a series of back bends, I keep the momentum of the back bend by not going into a forward fold in between. But that really comes down to preference and how malleable your spine feels and what your goals are, in your practice. Let's do that one more time. I just want to show. So early in my practice, I remember camel pose would be this really challenging pose to remember to breathe. You're really exposed, you're really open, and it's really easy to kind of sink into this. So keep focusing on bringing energy up, in toward the midline, really creating length and lift. I'm going to place the block here just for a moment. So if you were at a, as I bonk myself, if you're at a wall, okay, so you have the block, the edge of the block, and your body, and what you're trying to do is lift that block up toward the ceiling, okay, and then explore depth, okay, and I'm really trying to monitor the thighs from going forward, okay, really trying to keep a sense of lift and lightness, especially right here. Okay, right here in the low back. Lifting, lifting, maybe placing hands. So hands could be on blocks, on your heels, staying on your back. And this can go deeper and deeper and deeper. The head can go toward the ground. But that's another pose, another day. Okay, so camel pose. Ustrasana. Focus far more on length than depth. Really creating space, having the imagery, if it's helpful, of Setu Bandhasana, bridge pose, okay, really puffing up the heart, lengthening, and space. Anyway, I hope that this was helpful and would love to hear from you. Have a wonderful day. Namaste.